Hello, everybody. It is the Teacher Squad podcast with Jane Considine and me, Heather Wright. This is summer term, episode 8. Jane, what are we going to talk about?
I don't know, but I can't stop cheering because Northampton Saints has won the Premiership Rugby and our town is going wild, gotta
Woo
say.
woo! Yeah. Oh, looking forward to hearing about that. We're going to be mulling over some manifestos and thinking about how to make your vote count.
Yeah, absolutely. Such an important conversation. And as part of that, please, new government, please, whoever you're going to be, please get rid of the mobile, that tinny bit of rubbish on a playground. That's not a classroom. Get rid of that.
And we're going to end with some synchronized swimming hippos splashing in. It's going to be a good one,
Oh,
Jane.
yeah, great. Come on then, darling. Heather, wow. How was your weekend? Because I don't reckon whatever you were grateful for coming up next, you can beat my weekend.
Oh, I probably can't. I've spent two sides to the weekend. One of it, a massive clear out of my daughter's clothes. She's got a birthday
Mm.
coming up, shopping trip planned, school French residential wants to get some clothes. So some stuff's got to go.
Can
And
I
you know
just
when you
say
open
something
that,
yeah,
God,
about it's got to go. Do you know how to do this with teenage kids? It's called snog, marry, and avoid. You know what I mean? And actually, then you kind of reflect. Why do you need to snog? Do you know what I mean? What is happening with that pile? We haven't really thought this through.
they're for
Anyway,
parties,
sorry.
them, aren't they? No, it's okay.
Yeah.
She was actually really quite brutal, but we just kept finding clothes. I feel like we haven't had a clear out for a while. So there was a massive pile of clothes, which means then you got to go through those and go to charity shop and
Yeah.
just an epic Vinted session of putting them on there. So
Mm.
that was part of it. And then I spent a bit of the weekend working on resources and planning notes and videos for the big author week. So it probably doesn't beat yours, Jane. It probably doesn't. That's not what I'm grateful for. But tell me about your weekend.
Oh my goodness. Well, I was part of over 81,000 fans hitting
Ooh.
Twickenham for the Rugby Premiership final, Bath versus Northampton Saints. And, I grew up in Birmingham, but now live in Northampton and have become very attached to the sport of Northamptonshire, and I'm mad into rugby, and my family is as well. But after Saints won this so dramatic and thrilling final by 25-21, on Sunday there was an enormous procession in the town,
Ah.
and we went down there. We put a donk on it. I had to be told to calm down because I was getting a bit excited. We had Shoe Army chants and Saint colours and Freddie Mercury blaring. We are the champions. There was so much jubilation and pride. And I don't know if you feel this locally, where people are fed up with the government and there's been austerity and then there's loads of rubbish in the streets. It's sometimes very hard to see the happiness in your hood. And yesterday, the jubilation was, and the emotion and celebration was so high, and it was a real recognition for Northampton, really, because it's a
Oh.
town that really should have been a city, and it just felt like actually we are big. In Northampton, and it really cemented a real community sense of pride, and it was truly unforgettable, a very triumphant time, and a big sense of community spirit. So it was
Ah.
brilliant. It was so brilliant. The
It makes me
whole
feel
Yeah.
a bit nostalgic, that, Jane, because as you know, I'm a Scouser from Anfield, so very different shaped ball to you. I don't really
Yes.
know what, even though I taught in St Helens for a very long time, I still don't know what to do with that shaped ball. But I
No.
remember the days, you know, in the 80s when Everton used to win stuff, and then the coach would process past Nan and Grandad's house, and we'd be all
Oh.
out cheering. Yeah, lovely, lovely.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and believe the local radio here is just it doesn't know what to do with itself. It's like off the charts. Everyone's crying, and then here's Alex Mitchell's great long lost uncle who's got an opinion. You know, we're like weeding all these people out. It's
It's
brilliant though.
belonging, isn't it? It's that sense of
Oh
something to
yeah,
belong to, that's so
yeah,
important. But speaking of
yeah.
Northampton as well, I rewatched Kinky Boots last night. It popped up on a channel, and I enjoyed myself having a rewatch of Kinky Boots, which
Yeah, and
maybe I
actually, I'm
should.
going to say about Kinky Boots, we have recently in Northampton invested a lot of money into our museum, which does the history of shoes, and it's in
Mm.
the cultural quarter. And it is really worth a visit. It's the most beautiful building, and the museum is excellent. And then they have this kind of rolling section. And last time I went up there, it was all about punk rock, and it's just done to such a high standard. So yeah, if you're ever, I mean, you're bloody miles away, you are, babe. But if you're ever
From
nearby,
everyone.
please come. Well, we can have a cuddle, and then I'll take you down to the
Ah.
shoe museum. That'd be nice.
I feel like this episode should be sponsored by the Travel Association for Northampton. Is there anything else, Northampton, that we should shout about? Can I
Oh, I
tell you
don't
what I'm
know.
grateful for, Jane?
Do it, do it.
Do you know, uh, when I first came out of teaching and was doing Reading Rocks, I was very much on my own. And Reading Rocks is still very, very, very small. Like full time, there's only me and my husband. So, you know, I'm grateful for him. But we have lovely freelancers who do little spots of work with us. And
Yeah,
they're just my gorgeous team now. And I'm like super grateful for what they bring to Reading Rocks. So shout out for Nola, who is just tech whiz extraordinaire. Anything to do with the website or that kind of thing, she's just amazing. I go,
yeah,
right, Nola, I want to do this. And she just
yeah.
looks at me and she goes, okay, I'll work it out. So big love to Nola. She's a super duper star. Sean, who's up in
Oh,
Chorley. She's a superstar and does loads of social media scheduling and sends out prizes to people who've entered Book of the Week, and constant ball of energy. She's brilliant. And recent addition is Esther Brown, who people might know on Instagram. Mrs. Brown's Box has started writing some teacher planning notes that go with our book box titles, and
great.
she's just gorgeous. So I'm
Yeah.
grateful for those people who are just around me and bringing positivity, even though we're heading towards the summer holidays and I'm dieting, so I'm hungry, and I've also given
Oh,
up drinking. So I'm a
what?
bit, and I had to clear all that stuff out and do Vinted. So I'm a bit grumpy and miserable. So maybe I've
Oh
spent too much
my.
time with you. You've all been off on me, Jane. It's
You see,
like that
I'm
in
getting
summer term.
better.
Do you not think
Hey,
in summer term you're ready to like go, yeah, I'm ready for 6 weeks away from everyone?
hey, you've rubbed off on me, and I'm being more joyous and positive, and you've turned into a right old grump bag. Why?
No,
Why are
I'm
you
not.
doing two things at once? Why are you doing dieting and giving up drinking? Why?
Uh,
Why
I
both?
don't really know why I've given up. I just came to me and I just thought I'm just going to give it a go. And to be honest,
Yes.
I'm pretty cool with that. I'm not a massive drinker anyway, and I
Yeah.
just thought it's good for mental health, good for general
Yeah.
health,
Yes.
and then thought I'd give it a bash. The lack of food,
Yeah.
though, that does make me grumpy, but, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it's a nightmare, is it? And actually, just on the moment of food, I just did want to say, and I got very, very affected by the death of Michael Mosley and the gift that
Oh,
he gave the country about truly understanding food and how, the times we should eat it, and how sugar is the enemy and fat is our friend. And um, I don't really want to bore you about my eating habits, but I'm definitely on the keto side of life. And anything I know about food and what we should be doing is, I've learned from Michael Mosley. And the night he went missing, I couldn't sleep. I just could not sleep. And as the days go by, obviously, and then we got the awful news yesterday, it's just a bit much, isn't it? I just
yeah.
find, a man who has given his life to the community about how to extend your life. It just seems such a cruel
It just
ending.
doesn't
So,
seem fair, does it? That was kind
no,
of in my
yeah,
head as well, that someone who's, given
yeah,
people extended lives to have
yeah,
his short, and just seems, yeah,
yeah,
life's a bit
yeah.
cruel sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, if it on your food journey, yeah, I cannot obviously, Michael Mosley needs to be part of your your growing understanding of how to get through it, I suppose, honey. Right. Well, I've got a lot to say about the change that is afoot with the general election. We were hoping to have a few more manifestos in our hand, but we don't. But there are little leaks coming through of what might happen or occur. But my sum it up in a sentence is, you know, whoever the new government is, it is really vital that they listen to the
Mhm.
teacher voices, and that there is a clearer slipstream of communication. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be, oh, we've got a big listen and there's loads of paperwork. We need to find a way to unlock, teachers are so busy. We need
Mm.
to, that we have this very sort of real and authentic level of communication, because unless we are listened to, teachers truly do know how families flourish, and we know what isn't working. And there are certain things that need to be sorted, because I do feel at the moment, teachers are the trampled class. We've really been trampled by austerity, and we feel quite powerless at the moment in our work. And I just wanted to say, within this sense of powerlessness, it is small schools who are really suffering, and they
Mm.
are very lonely on a limb. They've got no money. They're trying to move it around as creatively as they can. They are very unconnected from CPD opportunities, because they don't have this kind of slush or extra. And I see the most disenfranchised, and I don't mean in a public way, but in the sort of, private DMs, and you kind of scratch beneath the surface and you're like, are you okay, Marion?
Mm.
And Marion is like, do you know what? Ultimately, we're just so small. And, if you're in a small school, I think it's particularly hard. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of things that make it tricky in a small school, and it's almost like, I think, with austerity, with everything that's gone on, the magnification, it hits those people first, doesn't it? They're
Yes.
almost like a kind
Yeah.
of weather vane, really
Yes.
showing us what the impact is.
Yeah, and nothing can get watered down or shared, amongst people's shoulders. It just, because they're in small schools being jacks of all trades, it just is,
Mm.
everything's intensified, as you said. And I think what we've got to recognise is that, we've got 4.3 million children living in poverty. and not just live in it. It's gone on so long. They're growing up in poverty,
Yeah.
and in any classroom, that is 9 in every 30 children. So
Wow.
that's high, and then interfacing with that. Um, which can be exacerbated by poverty, but just not only poverty, of course. 1 in 5 children and young people have a mental health problem. So, school has changed
Yeah.
very recently. And since COVID, um, it's like schools have needed more support, more money, but it just hasn't been prioritized. And I'm really, I mean, in terms of your work, Heather, and the power of books to support individuals and foster empathy. The CLP tell us, 57% of book corners have less than 100 books. And if we know that books can be, act like friends for children,
Mm.
um, and 38% of teachers are having to buy books, and they're only going to get new books in their book corner if they buy them themselves. It's just like we are in a sorry state of affairs. I mean, the impact of poor budget actually is impacting the purse of a teacher. You know, you and I meet teachers all the time who are having to buy food and equipment for children just to sort of get through the day. It's like teachers are always kind of, I'll go and buy a pack of 3 sandwiches because actually um, we've got children who are hungry, and these are barriers for learning, which is why when the Labour government said late last night, actually announced on the 10 o'clock news, it came through that they're for all schools, not just for the schools who can, all schools are going to have a funding stream to run breakfast clubs. That's a good move. And I know we
It's a
have a
good
high
move.
percentage of schools who do that already, but it is like the more remote schools, the smaller schools that aren't able to fund that provision. Um, and I think that is part of the flourishing family agenda. Everybody's having to work so much. One of my friends at the weekend who I caught up with, she is a psychiatrist who is having to take on 2 other jobs
Wow.
because she's not on a mortgage. I've forgotten all the mortgage types, but you know what I mean. That
Fixed.
when it's not. Yeah, thanks, honey. So she's not on fixed. She's just got. She's in a blended family. She's got 6 kids. And she's now doing all hours God sends, and
And that's the
just
reality for a lot of teachers as well, isn't it?
mm,
Teachers have always
mm,
been happy to dip into their own pockets in the human way and to put extra
mm,
bits and bobs in their classroom and,
mm,
pick up the slack with the few children who need it. But
yeah,
teachers haven't got that slack in their own pocket because
no,
mortgages have gone up hundreds of pounds a
yeah,
month in the
yes,
last few
yeah,
years.
yeah,
Um, I know my personal mortgage has gone up £400, and it's not a big mortgage, not a big house, it's not fancy.
yeah,
£400 in the last
yeah,
4 years per
yeah,
month. That's
yeah,
a chronic amount of money, and then the price of your shopping has
yeah,
almost doubled
yeah,
every time you
crazy,
go.
yeah.
The
And
the
then
the,
like
the
we're all in
goodwill is not
Aldi,
there.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah, and
not,
that's at Lidl. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we're all at the point where
yeah,
there's nothing more to give, and I think teachers feel that as well, that I can't give what I want. I can't be the teacher I
yeah,
used to be
yeah,
because those things have been taken
yeah.
away.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And therefore, what is below Aldi and Lidl? Food banks. So you just think, actually, it's getting really tough out there. And of course, interfacing with all of this, we know that all the closures of local services, to support, it's just heartbreaking. We There's kids who need counselling, mental health support, especially SEN support, speech and language therapists. And they're just the funding streams and the people aren't there. And we can just see children struggling,
Yeah,
which mean, and all of this is sort of barriers to teaching and learning, isn't it?
absolutely. That's
So,
the whole picture that I want to see, that it
yeah,
is about education, but it's about that holistic approach. And as you said, a flourishing family and mental health, being fed, watered, clothed, and early, just early, right from the beginning, sure
yeah,
start. And
yeah,
getting into those families, making sure that they've got taught, that they've got books, that they've got the provision early on,
yeah,
is what we need to see. And that early intervention, so that the things have escalated, haven't they? That lack of
yes,
cams, um
yes.
thresholds just rising and rising and rising, SEN just being at utter crisis point. Things are bigger, problems are bigger than they need to be, aren't they?
Yeah, and you've just given me goosebumps there about CAMS. The amount of teachers I talked to where they looked me straight in the eye and they said, "There are so many children in this school who need CAMS, and we cannot get them. We know they need CAMS,
Yeah,
and we can't get CAMS. CAMS is broken, but we need them." So the problem we've got, like what we want from the new government, we've got this issue where uh, teachers, the burnout, this sort of, it's part burnout. It's almost like it can be a slow burnout, like being frazzled to the point of like that cumulative effect of you kind of seeing children struggle and you can only do so much. That,
mm,
but then we've got these other like you just snap, and what is so sad is that we've got all of this expertise walking out of the door.
yeah,
And it's just like, hold on a minute. What? Mrs. Barwell's left. What? She's amazing. Like for me, it's so striking because I will go into a school 2 years ago, leave that school. I'm on the car park and I go, oh my goodness, that school just works so collegiately. I love the kindness. There's some real talented teachers there. The head is just adorable. You go back 2 years. So for me, it's almost more shocking. It's like,
yeah.
what? Those three teachers left, what they snapped? And it's just so, that is heartbreaking. And how do we stop people leaving, being broken by the system? We really do need to think about, it's not, fling a few more donuts in the staff room, work-life balance initiatives. We need proper government intervention, which of course is money, because there needs to be systems for teachers to go and visit other schools
Mm,
and and understand why a school ticks, why it works. We need to properly talk about flexible working hours.
yeah,
That actually we've got so many women in the system and school times, it's like square peg round holes. School runs from, you haven't got a breakfast club, runs from 9 till 3:15, but actually is there funding from the government to say, look, we're going to have more flexible school jobs running from this time so you can do school run, or we're going to think about, it's almost like, how come we've got two systems that aren't being meshed together? We need on-site childcare for teachers in the schools, or funded childcare for teachers. We need more sabbaticals. We need career breaks. And we need proper workload audits. Like,
yeah.
since the workload initiative, it's just got worse, hasn't it? It's just got ridiculously worse. So, and then interconnected with that, a bit like the fire service of the golden era, you can retire early, like the police, you can retire early. There's you, we're going to get you in, but you might burn out. You can retire early, and there's we're going to actually bolster the pension scheme, not siphon it off.
Oh, I don't even want to look at my teacher pension, like 2p in it or something for all those
Yeah,
years. It just,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh, yeah.
I
A
know.
couple of things there, Jane. I can't believe you mentioned donuts because I'm really feeling hungry and hangry now. And the square peg, round hole, all that. I feel like our education system and employment around it, but actually the education system as well, it's our format, it's it's dated, and
Yeah.
we need to take the moment of almost being at rock bottom to rethink things
Mm.
for the contemporary world that we're in. We've
Yeah.
talked a while ago about how many people are now choosing to home educate their children because of the benefits of that the classroom constraint um, puts upon them. It seems like a suitable time for a new government to help shift and evolve towards thinking. And we know so much more about different brains and neurodiverse needs, and it's about, when you were talking about flexibility of work for teachers, it made me think about, what are we trying to do? We need to be making a system that provides the most opportunity for success for the learners,
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of lens that we should be looking through. How can we make the best for
Yeah.
everybody? We don't want burnout. We don't want
No.
people walking out, and their passionate
Yeah.
educators is
Yeah.
what we need, who care about what and how they do it. And we
Yeah.
need to keep those flames alight and not
Yeah.
allow them to be distinguished, because once they've walked out that door and they've gone, I can't do that anymore, the
Yeah.
likelihood of them coming back, even when things have changed, if things can change, is
Yeah.
low,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we've doused that flame. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's almost, and you are right, we don't know the solutions yet, but I often don't think people are creative enough. I mean, I'm not saying this is the answer, but on a working day, do we have the supporting children, doesn't matter how old they are, but a bit more like a sort of early years support mode? I know they're, particularly in primary, they're going to go up to 11 years old, but we look after them from 7 a.m. till 9:30, and it's more PSHE, play based, creative. Then at 9:30, we do some sort of, more traditional sort of, subject based aspects. And then from 3:30 to 5:30, 6, which is the general time that the rest of the workforce finished, there's some other sort of PE and music provision, and we just rethink the whole model. It's, we can all say, oh, that's terrible that kids have to be in school all that time, but actually, let's let's put some provision, and then something's a bit more flexible.
yeah.
This is a definite attendance, this is a voluntary attendance. There's just so many more things that we can
There's a head
think
teacher
about.
in London, I think, isn't there, in a secondary setting, that's trialing at the moment with year 7 and 8, that kind of time scale where they're
Yeah.
there for 11 hours or something like that. And it's about getting them off their screens. I have to say, the
Yes.
thought of sending my child to school for that many hours makes me shudder. But if you're reframing what they are doing there,
Yeah.
and yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Can I tell you
Yeah. I
my
just
sentence to throw into the mix, Jane?
Yeah, chuck it in, babe.
Because my sentence is, make your vote count.
Yeah.
Actually, my polling card arrived today. Have you had yours yet?
I've only just applied because I have to do a postal vote this year. What I mean is,
Oh.
I've had to apply for a postal vote this year
Yeah.
because I am on holiday. So
Woo
yeah, and
woo.
I want to make sure
Now, can
that
we
it's
just
in.
check that you've put your exemption for attendance form in to get your holiday authorised, Jane? Have you followed the
Well,
school's policy? Have you submitted it 28 days in advance?
I think I'm gonna have to be fined. I'm
I
gonna
shall
be one of
find you.
those. I think I'm gonna have to be one of those people that claims to be ill, and then I come back with, an orange tan.
A tan and a coloured braid in your hair. Yeah, been ill,
Yeah.
miss. Been ill.
Had tonsillitis. What?
Anyway, back to voting. Back to voting. So, where I am, we've alluded, miles away from anywhere. If you look, I think I've probably talked about this, but if you look at who is likely to be voted in my area, it isn't Labour. So I need to think carefully about who I'm going to vote for. And I
Yeah.
urge everybody to kind of have a good look, um, and see the way that the vote could swing, and have a good look at all of the kind of policies out there. And it isn't just about who is going to be, it is about who's going to be the prime minister, and who's going to be the main number of MPs. But also, if you're going to do a strategic vote, it's about who's in the opposition, who's going to be calling them to account, asking the questions week by week. And we need those voices there. So we've said that the Labour, we're recording on Monday, and the Labour manifesto hasn't been released yet. Likely Thursday, I heard, and the Conservatives is likely to be released tomorrow on Tuesday, the 11th. But the Lib Dems has been released. So I've had a bit of a look-see at their education kind of statements on their
Mm.
manifesto, and pulled out some things that I thought were positive. So
Good.
one of the things that they are committing now, we have to take this with the pinch of salt, in knowing that they're not going to be the main party. We know that, but if they
Yeah.
can be, they can be there and voicing, and in your area particularly voicing these things. But they're saying that they'd like to put a mental health professional in every single primary and secondary school. We talked about where mental health is
Oh,
up to.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that that's a great thing to have on the manifesto. Another thing that
Yeah.
stood out is increasing funding per pupil head.
Yeah.
We've talked so much about funding, particularly
Yes.
in the small school settings where it's harder to make that stretch. Um, but maybe some kind of sliding scale would be good, Jane, that kind of
Yes.
recognises that for small schools,
Yeah.
that there's almost like a little small school premium to, I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
there's a few bits and bobs. One thing in there about maintenance grants for going to uni, and I think, yeah, we need to make sure that
Yes.
povy working class people like me, I wouldn't have been able to go and get my teaching degree had it not been free at that point, without the what do you call them, tutor fees and what have you.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few other bits and bobs, but another one I've starred is that they're keen to reform Ofsted and get
Good.
rid of the single word
Good.
outcomes.
Good.
So
Because
we need.
it's just like we've been calling for that. And I know we've got the big listen happening, but there just seems to be a bit of resistance, doesn't there? Any announcements we've seen, it's just hopefully it will come down the line, but it doesn't seem to be as clear cut that that's
Mm,
definitely going to go. It seems still like in this quagmire of fun, doesn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but if we've
So
got voices shouting out for that in Parliament, that would be good. There are things
yeah,
in there, Jane, about teacher workforce strategy, funding teacher training,
yeah,
clear high quality CPD. There are things in there, but a big one that I also liked in there was about tackling this send crisis. I like the fact
yes,
that they've acknowledged it is
yes,
broken,
yes,
and it needs focus
yeah,
to fix it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, there's quite a
absolutely.
few other bits and bobs in there, but
That's
some of
that.
the things that I would like to see, and it will be interesting when Labour's comes,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
to
defo.
compare with that, and indeed the Conservatives. I will have a look, but I'm telling
Yeah.
you now, I won't be voting for them.
Yeah. Do you know what? Isn't it so empowering, Heather? Like the amount of, like actually when you're in a school that you can't, you can't be politically vocal, that we are just so lucky that we can just gob off our real feelings. And I love that. And I just feel kind of very feminist and loud and proud about that. And it's brilliant. And just looping back to the Lib Dems talking about CPD, what we actually need, and this is the hardest thing at the moment as a teacher, we've got the research, we've got all the science of learning, we've got the policies like your national curriculum and kind of legally binding things that we've got to adhere to, and then we've got our frontline practice. And actually, we need CPD funding ring-fenced for a school so that we can have that three-way conversation of like, well, here's the research, this is the policy and the practice. So, and people need time and funding for this to happen, rather than what I often see, teachers having to go, and you see this with your work as well, having to beg, cap in hand, oh, please can I go on this course? Please can I have subscription to this magazine? And it's just like, it doesn't treat teachers like professionals. We are in the business of learning. This is such an important job that we're trying to do here. This isn't something we should be begging for.
No.
So yeah, and I'm so glad the Lib Dems have got that on their manifesto. The other thing I'm going to say is that I've been saying for years, and you have too, and it's not just about the concrete crisis in schools. In fact, I've got a nephew who's been personally affected by school closures and concrete in a school, and the impact on my brother's family is huge, and other people in the community. But can I just say, I don't even know if this makes a PG rating, don't care, gonna say it. Mobiles are shit. And they are damp, tin shack, sweaty, loads of crap that is not showing professionalism to teachers or respect to children. And in my work, when I have to go and teach in a school and they say I'm in a mobile, I'm like, this is just, it's not, you go in there and you just look at these 10 and 11-year-old kids scrunched up in this sweaty ass mobile, and it's not just geographically, they're getting lost in the school and not interconnected with the rest of the school, and it's just rubbish all round, disrespect for environments for learning. And half of these mobiles, they were supposed to be temporary, should have been pulled down in the 90s, and they're just still getting painted. Like, what we paint, like, forget it. It's like, the old saying about turd and glitter, can't be asked. Angry.
Oh, I love angry Shane. Oh. Oh.
Oh my life.
Shall we do some Wonder Words?
Yeah, shall we? This is wondrous, actually. These aren't my words. These are the words of a young girl who is actually only 13, and her name is Severn Cullis Suzuki. And actually, can I do a rewind? She's not 13. I don't know if you know this about me. I actually think I'm a bit dyscalcular, which is like number dyslexia. I don't know if I've bored you with this before. Absolutely self-diagnosed, but I often think words, say the wrong words, reverse words. I don't know how old I am, and I don't know how many people I've slept with, but hey. Thank God for that. But essentially, she's 9. She's 9. Now,
okay.
She's 9. Now, this didn't happen recently. This happened in 1992. And Severn co-founded back in the day now, this is a bit of history, the Environmental Children's Organisation, in an effort to spread the word amongst young people on the many environmental issues facing the world. Now, with her friends, she raised money and did some volunteering and travelled to Brazil to attend the United Nations Earth Summit and took her friends and presented a speech. And by the time she decided to do that, that's when she was 12 years old. So she started the Environmental Children's Organisation at 9 and then attended the United Nations Conference at 12. So I'm not going to read you all of her speech, but I am going to read quite a long part of her speech because it's just so powerful. I'm only a child, yet I know we're all part of a family. 5 billion strong, in fact, 30 million species strong, and borders and governments will never change that. I'm only a child, yet I know we're all in this together and should act as one single world towards one single goal. In my anger, I am not blind, and in my fear, I'm not afraid of telling the world how I feel. In my country, we make so much waste. We buy and throw away, and yet northern countries will not share with the needy. Even though we have more than enough, we are afraid to share. We're afraid to let go of some of our wealth. In Canada, we live the privileged life with plenty of food, water, and shelter. We have watches, bicycles, computers, and television sets, and the list could go on for 2 days. 2 days ago, here in Brazil, we were shook when we spent some time with some children living on the streets. This is what one child told us. I wish I was rich, and if I were, I would give all the street children food, clothes, medicine, shelter, and love and affection. And if a child on the street who has nothing is willing to share, why are we who have everything still go greedy? I can't stop thinking that these are children my own age, that it makes a tremendous difference where you were born, that I could be one of those children living in the favelas of Rio. I could be a child starving in Somalia, a victim of war in the Middle East, or a beggar in India. I'm only a child, yet I know if all the money spent on war was spent on ending poverty and finding environmental answers and finding treaties, what a wonderful place Earth would be. At school, even in kindergarten, you teach us how to behave in the world. You teach us not to fight with others, to work things out, to respect others, to clean up our mess, not to hurt other creatures, to share, not to be greedy. Then why do you go out and do the things you tell us not to do? Do not forget while you're attending these conferences who you're doing this for. We are your own children. You are deciding what kind of world we are growing up in. Parents should be able to comfort their children by saying, everything's going to be all right. We're doing the best we can, and it's not the end of the world. But I don't think you can say that to us anymore. Are we even on your list of priorities? My dad always says, you are what you do, not what you say. Well, what you do makes me cry at night. You grown-ups say you love us, but I challenge you, please make your actions reflect your words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting that is incredibly relevant still, and that needs to be said to leaders.
Yes.
Yeah. So was that in 1992?
Yes, 1992 by a 12-year-old, and as you
Wow.
say, absolutely palpable and relevant today, Heather.
I,
Yeah,
I
something's
turned
got to
10 then,
change.
so I'm not too
Yeah.
far off the age. So that young child is now in their 40s and
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
Still
And
relevant.
we
Thanks for sharing that, Jane.
not at all. I mean, we've got to close the this enormous gap, don't we, between rich and poor? You know,
We
we've got to make for
certainly,
more equal society.
certainly do.
Okay.
Certainly do. Can I
Mm.
share some
Yes,
something with you?
please.
Slightly lighter hearted, Jane. But
Yeah.
tomorrow, Wednesday this week, I am in loads of schools with this author, Eloise Smith, author of Winner Takes Gold, a book about a young girl who's trying to win a gold at the Paris Olympics in
Wow.
gymnastics. And Eloise herself was an Olympian fencer. So that's going to be cool. And
Wow.
in our Reading Rocks Book of the Week's titles all this month are Olympic themed books. So you can have a look at those if you're thinking about Olympic books as we head towards that. So I've picked one of the picture books called Gloria Goes for Gold. It's written by Marina Firth and illustrated by Annabelle Tempest. And
Great.
it's about a synchronized swimmer. Is that what you call them? A synchronized swimmer?
She can say it.
Synchronizing swimmer called Gloria. So I'm just going to set the scene and then jump to the end, as I often do with a picture book. So Gloria loved winning. She was part of her family's synchronized swimming team. You like this bit of alliteration, Jane? They were gifted, graceful, even groovy, and they always won gold in the artistic swimming championships. There they are if you're watching on camera. There we
Wow.
go. Much like what I look like in a swimming costume. Her family had collected walls of awards, piles of plaques, and towers of trophies, but Gloria dreamt of a prize she didn't have to share. And her chance arrived in the Morning Post. The Savannah Games are coming to town, bellowed her brother Harold. We need to rehearse our routine. Gloria had other ideas. This is it, she thought. My big break. I'll try a sport I can win all by myself. As her family splish splosh splashed into the water, Gloria marched off in another direction. So off she goes and she meets some of the other animals in the savannah, and has a little go at some of their sports, but isn't very good at them. And then when she watches her family and the replacement for the big hold at the end, she's feeling a bit regretful and she feels like she wants to go in, and then she sees it coming up and she knows they're not going to achieve. So she count down to jump in and help in. The countdown was on. Gloria knew she had 10 seconds before the final lift. 10, 9, 8. Gloria sprinted to the edge of the water. 7, 6, 5. She dove in and swam as fast as she could. 4, 3, 2. Harold gave Gloria a toothy grin when he saw her coming. 1. Splish, splosh, splash. Gloria swooshed to take her usual place in the lift, and Harold flew over her with his arms spread wide. It was sensational. Gloria's team was too wobbly to win gold, but they won the bronze medal. When they took their spot on the podium, the crowd whooped and cheered. Sorry I missed training, Gloria said. Before she knew it, her family crammed around her in an enormous hippo hug. We forgive you,
Oh.
they cheered, and thank you for saving me during that lift, whispered Harold. Gloria grinned. Being part of this team was the best prize of all. And I just thought, as I was
Oh.
thinking about being part of a team and working together, that was very apt. And although, it's good to get kids to strive on to their goal, there's always it's about the taking part for people like me.
Yes. And what a lovely full circle. We started with sport and we ended with sport. That is just, it's as if we bloody planned it. Heather.
We didn't. Just lucky buggers.
Yeah. Well, always a absolute delight. I love hearing your voice, Heather.
Oh,
You
Jane.
know, it'd be so great if we could be in the same room together. You know that, but I just think actually, if we were, it'd get too naughty, wouldn't it? This is better this way.
Yeah, I think Ian's probably shaking his head thinking, geez, I don't want to control them two in the room together.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
Oh, you say,
me say. Well, I was just going
yeah.
to say, have a great week, Jane. I know you're busy and doing this, that, and the other. Have you got some early years things popping up this week? Any
Yeah,
more
yeah.
Sunday sessions?
No, we've our little sweet Sunday session's over. I'm in Birmingham on Thursday, talking about write stuff in the early years and the 9 stages of emergent writing.
Fab.
And when this ends, I'm off to Margate. You know, I was hoping
Nice.
to catch up with Keith and he could make me a new mug, but he's now cleared off to Wales. So
It's in
damn it.
Bethwelly.
So yeah, it's big love from me. I've done that wrong, ain't I? Jane Considine. We'll do it this way. Don't care.
You can do big
Heartburst.
love,
Who's
and
the
I'll do heartbursts from it works. Heartbursts from Heather. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you all soon.
bye?